Alright guys, I'm having a bit of an issue with a NetApp DS4243. It's plugged into a PMC Sierra 8001. It's basically the NetApp one, but it recognizes this in Linux. Has 4 QSFP ports on the back. Now the issue I'm having is it's running IOM3s right now, and it's running fine. Like, I can see all the drives and everything is completely fine there. But I want to put in an IOM6 to get a little bit better speed out of it. But the issue I'm having is when I put in the IOM6, either some of the drives don't show up or the system just doesn't boot at all. So you guys are probably wondering what exactly I mean by that. So this is just a cheap computer I threw together. Has a really shitty AMD chip in it from like 2012. That's the HBA card right there. Now this doesn't have a GPU in it because it doesn't have enough PCIe X16 slots. So it's just connected to the network. It connects to the network so I can SSH into it. And that's the disk shelf right there. It's just plugged in with a single QSFP cable in the back. But I'll go ahead and show you guys what happens when I shut it down. Let me just terminate something. Alright, so it's shutting down. I'll come back once it's actually fully shut down, and then I'll swap out the IOMs and start it back up. Alright, so the disk shelf and the little stupid PC is shut down. I just want to mention that I'm getting these IOM6s from a DS4243. I know they should be interchangeable, so I'm not sure why I'm getting any issues with it, so I'm going to pull one out here. I already pulled the IOM3 out of the top, and I disconnected the second IOM3 at the bottom because it's not really needed, but I know that if I have an IOM3 and an IOM6 plugged in at the same time, it'll cause issues. So let me go ahead and slot this in here. Alright, so that's plugged in. Plug in the QSFP cable into the little square slot because that's what NetApp says to do. And we'll go ahead and turn the shelf on so it can spin up the drives before we connect it to the computer. And you'll notice I have the little amber warning light on. That's because I have one of the IOMs disconnected. It'll work fine even with the warning light. Alright, so the shelf should be fully initialized with all the drives spun up. So now I'm going to go ahead and start on the little crappy computer, and then I'll let you guys know what happens. Okay, so it's been about 3 or 4 minutes. The computer has not successfully booted. I can tell that because the network is not on. And without the network being on, I can't log into it to see anything. And because I don't have a video card, I can't see any issues that are happening to it, like failing to boot or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the computer. I kind of have to force it to shut off because I can't log into it. I'm going to turn off the disk shelf. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug all of the hard drives and then start it up without them plugged in, and I'll show you guys what happens. So I'm unplugging the hard drives, and I thought I'd just mention real quick that some of these hard drives are standard SATA drives, and some of them are SAS. But like I said, with the IOM3, it was working fine, so I'm not sure what the issue was with it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue unplugging all of these drives, and then I'll start it up and get back with you. Also, I forgot to mention again, these drives do not have the interposers on them. I know sometimes they do have the interposers to allow SATA to work with SAS, but it's been working fine as a mixture of SATA and SAS through an IOM3. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and then show you guys what happens. Alright, so the computer just fully started up. We can see that the network indicator is on. So that means we have connection to it. So I'm going to run over to my desktop. I'll go ahead and log back into it. Alright, and then I'm going to do this utility. So we can see that it shows up as a NetApp DS4243 IOM6, so it has the IOM6 in there. It still says it has 24 slots. All the drives are currently disconnected. So I'm going to go ahead and connect them one by one. And I'll actually do this. So we'll go ahead and watch that. I'm going to go ahead and plug the drives in and I'll show you guys what happens. Alright, so I'm recording this more for audio purposes. I'm sitting here and I'm plugging in the drives one by one, and you should be seeing on your screen the output from dmessage as I plug in each individual drive. I just like to give it a little bit of time between plugging in drives. Okay, so I just got back from plugging all of the drives in. So it looks like after the third drive, it stopped recognizing me inserting new drives. Now I believe that drive is SATA. So let's run over there and pull that drive real quick. So this is the drive itself. It's a normal SATA drive. It was working fine with the other shelf, or the other IOM. So I'm going to go ahead and reinsert it. So what I'm thinking might be the issue is it might be that the IOM6 is not liking the SATA drives. So I'm going to pull all of the SATA drives out of the shelf and leave just the SAS drives, and I'm going to see what happens. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled all of the SATA drives. There was only 6 of them in there. I'm going to go ahead and power down the disk shelf and the computer, and then we're going to reinitialize the disk shelf and then start up the computer again. Alright, disk shelf has been restarted. Now going to start up the computer again, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I did get it started successfully with the SATA drives pulled out, and it looks like it did mount like all of the drives properly. So the only issue that I'm having now is these SATA drives are bigger than these SAS drives that I have. These SAS drives are only 2 terabytes, and my SATA drives are a mixture between 2 and 8 terabytes. So I'm not sure why the IOM3 would work with the SATA fine, but the IOM6 won't. So if you guys have any ideas without using like the interposers, because I don't have the trays with the interposers, it'd be greatly appreciated. The only other thing I can think of is maybe I need to swap my HBA for not the shitty NetApp one. That may work too, because as far as I know, the disk shelf just passes the drives through to the operating system, so that's the only thing I can think of. But if any of you guys have any other suggestions or anything I might be able to do, let me know in the comments. It'd be greatly appreciated. But I'm gonna head out and try not to bang my head against a desk. Thanks. So one last little bit before I head out, I just want to say with the IOM6 I am seeing a little bit of a performance improvement with a RAID 0 of 4 SAS drives. I think I saw the highest disk write speed of like 600 megs a second, which is a little bit better than what I was getting before. It was about 300 to 400. But yeah,